So it is well known and understood that yoga is a great tool for stress management. For a lot of people, it truly is. It can be a great way to calm the physical body, calm the central nervous system, and therefore bring a lot of ease into the mind. But sometimes it's hard to know how to start or even where to start. So this video is intended to be an intro into yoga for stress management. So we'll stay low to the ground for most of the practice. We'll explore lots of variations of different shapes just to help you feel and find your way into it. And we'll keep it really slow. A big part of why yoga is so helpful for calming and relaxing is breath. So we'll also pay a lot of attention to breath. That being said, we'll get started. I've got blocks. I always practice with blocks. You may or may not need them or want them. I always suggest having them by. If you don't have blocks, you can grab other objects around the house to use just in case you want. So if you need to pause and go find some stuff, do that. If not, we'll get started right away. We're gonna actually start on our backs. So I'll invite you to come all the way down onto your back. You've got some options from here. You could choose to start in Shavasana by just allowing your legs to extend out long. Palms will be open, facing the ceiling. Palms open is important because it really does allow your shoulders to open, your chest to open. If you wanted to work into your hips early, you could also bring your feet together and let your knees open out wide. This is called supine butterfly or Supta Konasana in Sanskrit. I'm going to choose to stay here. But wherever you've decided to stay, let your eyes soften or your eyes close. One more little tip before we settle in. If your legs are long, you could put your blocks or rolled up blankets or towels underneath your knees. If it feels a little bit helpful to have that support under your knees, it can soften and release tension in the low back. Once you're in your physical shape, just once again, let your eyes close or lower and take a moment to really find your breath. Notice the inhales moving through your nose. Observe the temperature, the texture, the quality of the air. And let your exhales start to lengthen. The exhales can be out of your mouth or out of your nose. Traditionally in yoga, it's often cued to inhale and exhale out of the nose. For the most part, I think that is helpful. However, sometimes an open mouth exhale is nice to extend, sort of let go of some heat if you're in a warm space. And feel what works for you. Take one more full rounded breath in. And a giant open mouth loud exhale out. Let your next breath pull your legs towards each other if they're open, and then draw your legs into your chest. Start to pull everything in. Maybe even head and shoulders come up. You could grab an interlace around your shins or your knees, but kind of curl into a little ball. Then as you exhale, drop down back to the ground. Start to pull your knees out wide, working into your hips a little bit. You can work your knees towards your outer rib cage or even towards your armpits. Try to keep your head and shoulders grounded. And I like to actively draw my shoulder blades towards my spine, just to make sure that I'm opening through the chest. So again, feel what works for you. And start to add some movement here, a little side to side along the muscles of your low back. You could stay just like you are, or you could reach to grab your feet for a full happy baby. You could choose to do peace fingers around big toes here, or you could also take your hands to the outer edges of your feet. And either way, continue to rock and roll side to side. You might also find it welcome in the spine to roll front to back. Another option from here is to extend the legs straight. So this could be one at a time. It could potentially be both. And take another 3 rounds of breath, just moving, exploring, find your own way. There's no right or wrong. One more full breath in. And let your exhale bring your feet back down to the ground. And then just simply roll over onto your side to press up to a seat. You want to rock and roll and get there in any other way, of course you're welcome to. But come to easy seat, Sukhasana. So crisscross applesauce, so to speak. Let your hands rest comfortably on your knees or your thighs. This doesn't feel great on the spine. Something else you can do is sit up on a block. And then you'll allow your sits bones to ground and your pelvis to sort of tilt forward. And that lets the shoulders stay stacked up over the hips. So if you're on the ground or low to the ground and you feel a little roundedness in your back, try to elevate up using a block or a blanket. We'll cat-cow from here. As you inhale, pull your shoulders back. Chest goes forward, gaze goes high. With the exhale, round into your spine at chin to chest. Inhale, open up. Find your cow shape. As you exhale, press back. One more time, inhale, come forward, open for cow. And exhale, press back for cat. On your next breath in, come all the way through center. Extend your arms tall overhead. As you exhale, take a twist over to the right. Bring your right hand behind you, left hand cross body to your right knee, right thigh. Breathe in, push your sits bones down. As you exhale, find a deeper rotation. One more full breath in. Big breath out. Inhale, come through center, arms go high. Exhale, twist the opposite way. Left hand behind you, right hand cross body. In for length. And out to twist. One more full round in. Audible sigh out. Come back through center. Ground down into your hands. You can do palms. I like fingertips here. I think you get a little bit more height. Push your sits bones down and lift your chest up. Gaze goes high behind you. Full breath in. Full breath out. Come back through center. Uncross and recross your legs the opposite way. So that might feel a little bit weird. Might also not feel that much different. Either way is fine. Take a breath in, lift through the crown of your head. As you exhale, hinge from your hips, push your chest forward, and start to walk yourself all the way out. So you might stop anywhere, right? You could be up pretty high and just focus on dropping your chin. Find the length in the back of your neck, and that might be enough. You might walk out a little bit further and stop here. Let your head hang. Or you could choose to maybe come down to your forearms if that's available. If you're down closer to the ground and you do have blocks, one option is to bring a block underneath your forehead. If your head is supported, you could keep your forearms grounded or stretch them long in front of you. And it's absolutely possible that you might be able to bring your forehead all the way down to the ground. And if that's the case, absolutely go for it. Focus on extending your exhales. Keep your breath really long. One more full cycle in. Big cycle out. Come all the way back up through center. Slide your legs behind you. Come into tabletop on your hands and knees. Now, if this doesn't feel great on your knees, if it's a little bit too much pressure, too much weight, you've got a blanket or a towel, you can kind of roll that up and slide it underneath your knees, and that can add much more support and feel a lot better. So from here, extend your right leg towards straight, press your toes into the ground, and start to shift your weight back. Take a big breath in for length. Then a big breath out. On your in-breath, come forward. Elevate your right leg into the air and bend your knee. From here, start to make giant circles with your hip. Choose a direction, we'll go both ways. And after about 2 or 3 rounds in one direction, try to go the opposite. It's likely that one direction will feel a little bit more comfortable, easier, and that's totally normal. If they feel the same, that's great too. Bring your right knee back down.
And then align your knees so that they're under your hips, so you're, about hips width distance apart. Same for your arms. Cat-cow from here. Drop your belly as you inhale. Gaze goes forward, shoulder blades pull back. With the exhale, find your cat shape. Round into your spine, pull your chin to your chest. You might choose to shift your weight back, come up onto your fingers, or you might choose to shift your weight forward, drawing a little bit more into your neck. You can rotate back and forth or play with one spot, but your next breath in will find cat again, or cow rather, and then exhale any version of cat. One more full round in. Really big exhale out. Take it back through center on the in-breath. Extend your left leg, this time long behind you. Ground your big toes into the earth. Send your weight back. Ground down into your palms, finger pads, finger knuckles. Big breath in. Big breath out. Come back on the inhale. Elevate your leg in the air. Bend your knee. Keep your foot flexed. Find some circles. Pick a direction. We'll go both ways. 2, 3 rounds in both directions. Notice differences here from side to side and directionality. When you feel complete with the hip circles, bring both knees back to the earth. Take another round of cat-cow in and out. Come back into a neutral table. Allow your shoulders to shift forward, or your upper body rather, to shift forward. Hips go low, chest opens up. And then as you exhale, press back into child's pose. Big toes will come to touch. Knees can stay close, or you can widen them out. Either way, let your hips come back towards your heels, forehead to the ground. Forehead does not come to the ground. You can grab a block or a blanket and let your forehead rest. You could also put that block underneath your chest for support and let your head hang. One more option is to grab a blanket or your block and put it in between your hips and your heels if your hips don't really touch and you feel unsupported. Once you find your shape, allow your forehead to ground down into something. Spread your fingers out really wide. Press the 4 corners of your palms down into the ground. Continue to focus on lengthening out your breath. Inhale through the nose. And extend the exhale out. And start to walk your hands over to the right side of your mat. You can bring your left hand all the way up and over on top of your right palm. Forehead can ground or left ear can ground. Either way, take a breath in and a full exhale out. Come all the way back through center. And as you exhale, go the opposite way. Right hand can come on top of left palm, just if you want. Forehead grounds, or perhaps right ear grounds. Either way, big breath in, big breath out. Come all the way back through center. Press yourself up through tabletop into your first downward facing dog. Hips go all the way up into the air. Allow a bend in your knees. Can be a micro bend or a generous bend. As you inhale, lift your sits bones up higher. And as you exhale, press your chest towards your thighs. And so if you feel really heavy in your shoulders here, bend your knees more and push your weight back a little bit further. Heels don't have to touch. Legs don't have to be straight. If you haven't already, start to move around in the shape. So let your legs bend, one knee at a time. Push back through the opposite heel. And you might even choose here to add in some side movements. Let one hip drop down. Right, just feel into whatever needs to be felt. Head is heavy, Let your neck go long. One more full breath wherever you are. Really big exhale out. On your next inhale, come back forward, down onto your knees. Slide your legs around in front of you and extend them out long. Keep your right leg extended. Draw your left leg in towards the inside of your right leg so it can really come anywhere. These are great tools. Rolled up towels, again, blocks. You can put one underneath your left knee if it doesn't come down to the ground. You can also put one underneath your right knee if this puts a lot of pressure on your low back. We're heading into a fold, so if you find that you can't fold, then I would really encourage you to find something to put under your right knee, and that's probably going to help quite a bit. So on the inhale, arms go up high. As you exhale, hinge from your hips, press your chest forward, keep your back flat about halfway, and then if it feels okay, you can round it to your spine. So I've started with the block underneath my knee. Sometimes I'll stay here like this the whole time, and then sometimes I'll move it out of the way. Right, if your leg can straighten out, allow it to. It doesn't have to be locked straight though. Allow a little micro bend in your knee. Take one more full breath in. Big breath out. One more like that. Inhale, big breath in, lift up. Just about halfway, and then as you exhale, hinge forward, come back down. So breath can be really helpful to get into a deeper stretch. The inhales always find length, and the exhales allow you to create a little bit more depth. When you're ready, use your breath to come all the way up to your seat. Take the block out of the way if you've got it. Bring your left hand down to the ground. Inhale, hips go high, arm goes back. Right, and so you can play here with a couple shoulder circles if you want to, if you need to. You can also bend at the elbow, cactus out on the one side, and try to pull your chest through, get a little bit more heart opening space. You want activation in your legs. Ground your right pinky toe edge down and push your hips up from there. One more breath. And as you exhale, come all the way back down to the ground. Hands go behind you, feet come out in front of you, knees bent. I like really wide legs here because I feel like I get a little bit more into my hips, but you can play with foot placement. Just let your legs go gently from side to side. Whatever knee is in the inside, dropping down, energetically push towards the earth to feel a little bit more depth in the pose. And then when you're ready, come back through center. We'll find the second side. Left leg straightens up. Bring your right sole of foot anywhere to the inside of your left leg. Once more, you can use tools underneath your right knee if it doesn't come to the ground, and or you might want to put something under your left knee for a little bit of support there. It really takes the pressure out of the low back, especially if you're finding it hard to fold. So I'm going to start with the block. Inhale, arms high. As you exhale, fold all the way over your left leg. Really come into your breath. Full inhale, find length in your spine, even though we're in a still pose. Let the exhale create a little bit more depth. So once more, the exhale is the place where you really get some softness and depth in the pose. You want to work that angle to your advantage the most. Come up on a halfway lift when you breathe in. Like halfway come out of the pose. And then exhale, hinge from hips, push your chest forward, round only if and when you're ready. Once again, if after a couple rounds of breath, you feel like you can lengthen out your leg a little more, you're welcome to remove the prop. One more full round in. Big breath out. Come all the way up to your seat once more. If you have the block under your knee, take it out of the way. Ground down into your right hand. On the inhale, push your hips up high. Let your left arm come all the way back. And then we're here for a couple breaths, so you can explore shoulder movements or arm circles, just if you want. Or other option is to cactus the left arm to really get a little bit more opening through your heart. If you want that leg activation, ground your left pinky toe edge into the floor and push your hips up from there. One more breath. And as you exhale, come all the way back down to the ground. Extend both legs long in front of you. This time, slide your hips all the way back underneath your shoulders. You can once more have some support under your knees if that feels helpful. As you inhale, arms go high. Exhale, flat back as you come down, at least halfway. And then, if it's comfortable, round and tuck. Let your eyes close if you can, if that's comfortable. Really try to tap back into your breath here. Slow inhale through your nose. Even longer exhale out. One more full big breath in. Really big exhale out. Come all the way up on your in-breath. Bring your hands behind you, bend your knees for a little support. If you've got to scoot up, scoot up. But eventually find your way all the way onto your back. Pull your heels a little bit closer to your hips. They don't have to touch. Bring your palms face down. Use your palms, use your heels, use your feet, use the back of your head. On your inhale, push your hips all the way up into the air for bridge pose. Traditionally here, feet are about hips-width distance apart. I like a little bit of a wider stance with my feet. I just find I get a little bit more opening and length. So you can explore how wide or close together you want your feet. Another option is to interlace your hands underneath your low back and try to wiggle your shoulder blades a little bit closer together underneath you. We'll take one more full breath in. And as you exhale, come all the way back down to the ground. Take a full breath here. Really big exhale out. Keep your left leg grounded. Bring your right foot across your left knee, left thigh. Right foot stays flexed. Reclined pigeon on the right side. You've got some choices. You can simply start by pressing your right leg away from you, and that might be enough. If you've got more space, you can interlace your hands around your left thigh and draw your whole leg packet in towards your chest. Head and shoulders stay grounded either way. So if your head and shoulders are up to get that bind, let it go. Bring your head and shoulders back down and just focus on pushing your knee open. We'll stay here for 3 rounds of breath. Slow, intentional inhale. And as you exhale, look for the depth. You can energetically push your right knee away from you and or draw your left knee in closer during that exhale. 2 more rounds. One more full breath. Complete the exhale. Allow your foot to come back to the ground. If it's lifted, keep the figure 4 shape. Then simply let everything fall over to the left side. So the sole of your right foot will come down towards the ground. Energetically push your right knee up towards the ceiling. And allow your right shoulder to come back to the earth. Arms are out wide like a T, palm face up. You can stay just like this, looking up at the ceiling, or you can slide your gaze over to your right fingertips, working into the left side of your neck. To make this a little bit more active, just if you want, energetically keep working your right knee towards the ceiling as if you're pushing it away from you. So towards the ceiling, but really towards the front of the mat, front of your space. One more breath. Really big exhale out. Use your breath, come back through center. Both feet return to the floor. Take your legs out super wide, so as wide as your mat. And then let both knees drop over to the right. Come through center on your in-breath. Let both knees drop over to the left. We'll return back here and add in a longer pause after we do the second side. So this was just a counter. On your next in-breath, bring your knees back up towards the ceiling. Heel toe your feet back closer together, around hips with distance. Could be a little farther. Definitely not closer. A little farther though, if that's better. And then left side, left foot will cross over your right knee. Energetically, or with the help of your hand, start to push your left knee away from you. And then if and only if you have the space and you want to, draw your right leg in towards you. So this side for me is a lot tighter. It's really common to have differences in sides, especially in the hips, although not everybody does. So it's definitely not a generalization, and if like you're pretty balanced on each side, that's awesome. If one side does feel significantly different in any pose really, but especially in hip openers, just don't be surprised. That is pretty normal. So that being said, assess where you are, assess what you need. On this side, even I'm having a hard time keeping my shoulders grounded. So, you can choose to come out of the shape, or you could choose to stay into it and find a little bit more depth with your breath. If you choose to find more depth with your breath, really focus on lengthening out both inhale and exhale, but especially the exhale. Let the exhale really be where the depth of the pose comes in. 2 more rounds of breath wherever you are. One more full breath. Big sigh out. Let your right foot come back to the earth if it's lifted. Keep the figure 4 shape and let everything fall over to the right side. Sole of left foot will come down to the ground. Energetically push your knee up and away from you. Peel your left shoulder back to the earth, arms wide like a T. Gaze straight up at the ceiling or take your gaze over your left fingers. Breath really is the most important part. So if you lose your breath ever, right, either now or at any time throughout the practice, it's just an indication that you might have gone a little bit too far into the stretch, and it's okay to back out of it and ease your way back in. It's also notable to say that things feel different on a day-to-day basis. So one day you might have a fuller, deeper expression, and another day you might not. Just notice and be present with whatever it is. That's really the practice of yoga, or that's a big part of it. Take one more breath here. And let the exhale complete. Draw your knees back up, or your legs back up on the in-breath. Bring both feet back to the ground. Take your feet out wide once more, off your mat or to the outer edges of your mat. And allow your knees to drop over towards the right and stay. You could choose to stay just like this. If you don't feel a whole lot in your hips, right, like in this pose, in this variation, then a way to intensify sensation could be to take your right foot and press it, or place it rather, on top of the left knee. Now this can compromise the left knee joint pretty significantly, so you want to be mindful of how that feels. If that feels not comfortable, not helpful, and I mean absolutely, if you feel like any burning pain or anything like that, absolutely come out of it. Something to try is to take your block and wedge it underneath your right knee or your right thigh, and that can take the pressure off of your left knee, but it's still allow the weight to intensify the stretch. So that's my personal favorite. You can play around with it, see what works. It might be useful, it might not, that's okay. Three more breaths here. Just notice thoughts as they arise. And the work is always to acknowledge them and let them pass. On your next inhale, slowly, if your right foot is on your left knee, take it off. Allow the left knee to push back up and really adjust the placement of your foot in whatever way feels needed. You can take some counter movement by letting your legs go side to side, and you might want to bring your feet close together for this round, or closer together. You also might not. When you're ready, we'll head over to the second side. So before you fall all the way over to the left, take your feet out wide once more, and then knees go both directions towards the left. Second side might feel different, so you might want a different variation. That's okay. If you do want to explore foot to knee, start to lift your left leg up and bring your left foot across your knee. For me on this side, it is pretty intense, pretty heavy, so I absolutely need a block on this side to make this pose safe for me. So I like to slide it underneath kind of the outside of my left thigh. You might like it in a different place, so be creative, be free to move things around. Something I didn't say on the other side, which I should have, is you also do want to be aware of your joint alignment. So shoulder, hip, and knee want to be ideally in a pretty straight line. I can see from here that my knee is a little bit over to the left. So if that happens, if you see that, heel toe your right foot over a little bit, and then bring yourself into a straighter line. That also helps protect just the integrity of your joints. When you find the shape that works for you, allow yourself to soften back into it by focusing on breath. Lengthen through your inhales. And extend the exhales even longer. 2 more rounds of breath. Last full cycle in. Last full cycle out. If your left knee is on your foot, slowly start to take it off. Bring both feet back to the earth. Watch your right knee as you come back open. And then hips or knees rather side to side, or any other counter movement really that your body wants or needs. And bring your feet back to about hips width distance. Grab your block, your pillow, your towel, your blanket, whatever you have. Push your hips into the air. Slide the block underneath your sacrum, right at the base of your spine. And then take a minute to feel your low back, that natural curve in your lumbar spine. Ideally, you want that hanging off the edge of the block. If the support is underneath your lumbar spine and it's a little too high, try to bring it down. Then bring your hands down along your side, palms face up, legs go straight into the air. They do not have to be straight legs. You are more than okay to bend your knees a little or a lot. And especially early in this shape, you're more than welcome to move your feet around. You might take circles or flex and point. You can even explore drawing your feet back closer to your head, right above your face. And even maybe perhaps extending your legs out a little bit further in front of you, just to find your range of motion, different aspects of your mobility, right? Legs that are further out are gonna activate the core muscles quite a bit. And then legs that are a little bit closer over the face are gonna deactivate the core muscles. So you get to choose where the right placement is. In a perfect ideal world, which doesn't exist, worth saying, your ankles would line up over your knees and your knees would line up over your ankles, but that doesn't have to be the way your shape looks. Once you feel into the place that you want to stay, let your eyes close or your gaze come to one single point. And take 5 more breaths from here. Slow breath in. Really big exhale out. You can, or you want to, you might even wiggle your shoulders a little bit closer together underneath your spine. And that might slide you off the block in any way. You know, if it does and it's welcome, just allow it to happen. If it does and it's unwelcome, you can always go back and readjust. Take one more full round of breath in. As you exhale, bring your feet back down to the ground. Lift your hips up into the air. Pick the block, the pillow, whatever it is, out of the way. Back comes all the way back to the ground. Extend your left leg out long in front of you. Push into your right foot. Pick your hips up and slide them a little bit over to the right side. Now draw your right leg in towards your chest and let it come across body over to the left for a supine twist. I really encourage blocks here as well, underneath your right knee. Press your right shoulder back down into the ground. Arms can really be wherever they're comfortable. Right arm can go long off to the side. Gaze can go high towards the ceiling or over your right hand. Left hand can also be, or arm rather, can also be really long, or you can use your left hand and kind of grab right around the back of your right knee. You can either push that down into the block or the pillow or the ground, or you can pull it towards you. And you can even do a little bit of both, a little bit of push down and pull in action. And that can give you a deeper sensation through your right hip and your right IT band and other parts of the right hip. So just explore what's needed or wanted. We'll take one more breath. One more exhale. Come back through center on the in-breath. Both feet come to the ground. Just take a gentle bridge. Just lift your hips up to realign. Extend your right leg straight. Keep your left knee bent, push into the floor, and pick your hips up just enough to slide them over now to the left. Then draw your left leg in towards you, bring it across body, supine to a second side. Once more, take the block with you. Let your left knee be supported, and then peel your left shoulder back down. Find a way to be comfortable with your arms here, so long, cactus, or just kind of wherever. Doesn't really matter. What does matter though is that the shoulder is grounded and the shoulder is open. So try to let your palm face up wherever it's, whatever direction your arm is. And then right arm, once more, can be long as well to kind of match, or you can use it as a gentle way to assist yourself. One more full round in. Full round out. Come back through center on the inhale. Both feet push into the ground. Both knees will be bent. Lift your hips up. This can be a big bridge or a gentle bridge. Any kind of back bend here that you need to realign. And when you're ready, come all the way back down to the ground and find your way into Shavasana, your final resting pose of the practice. Traditionally, this is with legs long, arms wide, palms up, feet kind of flopped open. But there is absolutely no right or wrong way to be in rest. So we're saying also that traditionally this is with eyes closed, but it absolutely doesn't have to be. If you're choosing to practice Shavasana with your eyes open, pick a single point on the ceiling and practice drishti. Drishti in Sanskrit means gaze. A single gaze can be an incredibly powerful point in meditation. And so Shavasana really is meant to be a form of meditation. So if eyes are open, use that drishti, use the gaze. And if eyes are closed, pick any single point that you'd like. It could be similarly the single space right between your forehead, or between your brows rather, in the center of your forehead. Is often called your third eye. It's the seat of your intuition and is a common focal point in meditation. Could be breath or anything else. I'll quiet my voice now and give us about 2 minutes of silence. So I've got the time. I'll call you out of rest in 2 minutes. start to deepen your breath from here. Come back into this moment, this time, this space. Wiggle out your fingers and your toes. Let your head fall over to the left, to the right. And then slowly start to gently, easily, in whatever way you want, make your way back up to a seat. Any seated position or kneeling position is okay. Stack your shoulders over your hips, ears over your shoulders. On your next inhale, take your arms all the way up overhead. As you exhale, draw them through heart center. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I hope you feel calmer, a little bit easier through both body and mind. Questions, please leave them below in the comments. And I hope to see you back on your mat soon. Thank you so much, as always, for joining in. Namaste.